fairly long one. Let's get into part 2 here. Let's rapid fire some of these. This one's from William. Do you have any children or do you want any? No, I don't, as far as I know. And yeah, definitely within the foreseeable future. Are you straight, gay, bisexual? Why would you ask that? Straight. What is your employment status? Full time. What type of women do you like? I don't know how to explain it for you guys, but garu, kind of like garu, like you know what? Just search cyber Japan dancers. Pick any of one of them. That's fine. That's my type. Or kotakumi. You know what that's all about, right? You know, big ass titties. You know. Anyways, let's go ahead. Are you? What is your? No. Have you experienced personal racism in Japan? Not directly personal, but there's always like sometimes you have to wonder if some of that's been coined up to like you're like, wait, did they just say that shit because I'm a foreigner, or did they say that shit because I didn't understand, or did they say that shit because I'm black? Like it's a little bit difficult out here to tell which one is which, like in terms of like, did you get this racism because of yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Did you guys get this racism because of you're a foreigner, or did you get it because you're black? So it's hard to tell. But nothing strong. Black Lives Matters. There's a Black Lives Matter out here issue, but it's not as strong as you would think. It's people that are generally just doing the positive point of Black Lives Matter and protesting for the people back home in America. So there's sometimes like crowds and protests and marches just to let people know what's going on back home in America. Do you stay up to date with current events in the USA? Yes, I do actually. I read the paper almost every day, and I check online news definitely every day, so I'm up to date on a lot of things. But yeah. Why do you feel that you have to upload a video 2 in the morning? I don't know, probably time difference. What is it that you could do in Japan that you couldn't do in the USA? It's a good question. Fuck some nice yellow bitch. I'm just kidding. There's what is there something I could do? Like even that joke, I said it jokingly, but that was no difference because I actually had a Japanese girlfriend in LA as well for like 6 years, so there's not much of a difference. Wow, yeah, now that I think about it, it wasn't really that different in Los Angeles than being in Japan. I guess the biggest difference is really the food. It's more peaceful, I suppose. I can't drive. That kind of sucks. And everything's really expensive out here. So what is the big difference, or what is the big benefit? I don't know. That's a very good question. What is it? I guess there is some form or fashion of a peace of mind, I suppose. And I guess the other thing sometimes is like, since I'm able to actually meet people like an easier way for some reason. Like what I mean is like celebrities, YouTubers, famous people, we're all able to kind of meet a little bit easier. Like for example, The Walking Dead, the cast of The Walking Dead was out here the last couple days, and they're still out here. And if I really wanted to pull strings or whatever, if I really wanted to, there's a much easier chance of me able to hang out with them and meet them here in Tokyo, because it's less static than if I tried to do something like that at San Diego Comic-Con. You see the difference? For example, and then, you know, like someone like even Dante, who's like the #1 commercial guy in Japan, meeting him in the States would have been a little more difficult, but because we both have the same sort of interests and we're both kind of similar sort of situations, we were able to collaborate and become good friends. So I couldn't really have done that in America probably. So things like that. I think that's one of the big things. Where do I see myself 10 years from now? No goddamn idea. Hopefully still alive with some children. With a long red beard like Rob Zombie and shit, and a cane like Forrest Whitaker, fucking Ghost Dog. What will you do if they find you? Some shit like that, and doing a damn good thing, I guess. Alright, will you ever make a parody movie, mini movie about superheroes? I would love to do that. What inspired you to get red dreads in the first place? I used to have like a red afro, and then I had red braids, but it was really annoying to keep rebraiding every month or so, like Snoop Dogg. So then I just decided to lock them because it was just easier that way. All right. If you were able to get 3 superpowers or abilities from your favorite superheroes, what would they be and why? Man, I have no idea. I always wanted Spider-Man's powers, for sure. I would definitely like flight, and then I guess invincibility or something like that, just to make sure I don't die. Like that would be good. So that would be good. All right. Why do you live in Japan? Somebody replied back, hey, that's a really good and original question. I've never heard of that one before. All right. When you stop YouTube, would you look into using other multimedia platforms for all the Red Dread Nation to know how you're doing? And if so, when do you think? Estimation. Will you ever quit YouTube? Yeah. So this one is kind of, this goes back, it goes into YouTube type of stuff. You know, nothing lasts forever, and YouTube is a very stable platform sometimes, but it is very unstable at the same time. Very unstable. So, and you got to look at things like Vine. Vine wasn't really making money, and they had to close it. Nothing lasts forever, and YouTube might just be one of those things that come 2-3 years from now, because YouTube doesn't make money. YouTube doesn't make Google money. And Google, sooner or later, is going to have to put their foot down and be like, yo, it's a losing platform type of deal. And that concerns me. So that's why anytime Google makes these changes or something like that to YouTube, and people bitch and complain or whatever, if anything, they start getting richer off of this kind of stuff. And that whole thing about being, what was it called? Affiliate, advertising friendly, right? It's so funny to me because I saw so many people complaining that they're getting their channels getting deleted and such misinformation, and it really annoyed me so much to see. I felt so bad to see some of these kids, because a good amount of YouTube people watching YouTube are kids. It really made me mad to see people misdirect. I'm talking about big YouTubers misdirect their audience and stir them into a frenzy, while at the same fucking time an advertising banner would come up on that same video that said that they weren't getting paid for their videos. It was... Anyways, the point I'm saying here is the fact that, you know, when these changes make, you know, you got to understand that Google is doing it so that they can actually make a profit off of YouTube. And if they don't make a profit off of YouTube, they're gonna drop everything. So if they lose everything, if they drop everything, I lose everything. All YouTubers become a disappearance in a heartbeat, like that. And it's very possible. People act like that won't happen. Now look at Vine now. Look at Vine. So it is very important to try to keep like another portal or some sort of form or like something to like your own channel. I mean, I remember when we used to make websites that like, so I should really create a website, a hub, like even Jenner Marbles. She has jennermarbles.com, you know. I should make a website like that, and I've thought about that in the future. I know even with some of my friends that they do newsletters, and I've actually thought about doing a newsletter, because that would be kind of a cool way to just talk to people outside of YouTube like that. But yeah, it's important. So no Batman v Superman joke. What was the happiest moment in my life and the worst? Probably both in the same. What inspired you to begin reacting, or did it come by itself? This came by myself. Or who inspired you to begin reacting? What? No, nobody, actually. I was just recording my reactions as a time capsule for my friends, and I would share them to my fans. Go watch. There's so many videos where I talk about that already. The beginning and the end of the reactor verse. That's a good video, I believe. But yeah, I didn't do it for anybody, and then I was very surprised that there were other people out there that were doing it as well. Gotta move to San Francisco. What did you want to do before YouTube? Well, I don't do the same thing I'm doing right now, but I originally came to Japan. Why did I like that? Now that's kind of fuzzy as well. Like, I had this idea, was I only wanted to stay in Japan for about 2 years or so, finish school, and then part-time be a DJ. Like, I still have my turntables and everything buried somewhere around here, and play at the clubs at nighttime, fuck bitches, then go to school in the daytime, and that was that. But of course things changed, and things kind of reworked and such, but I don't know, now it's kind of just a mix between the two, except the whole fuck bitches and things like that. So what favorite Asian country you visited? Well, I guess technically Japan, but the second favorite Asian country, Korea. I really enjoy Korea, and I really appreciate the fact that Korea is on top of the pulse of movies, getting movies on time. So that's always been a good one for me. Alright, 12 minutes on that one. White or red dreads. Just happened that way. Why do you call yourself Akasan? Aka is red. Let's see. Let's see. Welcome back here. If YouTube changed your... Okay, you talked about before the fact that it isn't just a reaction channel. Okay. Good. Retro Plays is on it. Yes. Okay. They were asking, they were just like, if YouTube changed the guidelines and I wasn't able to create reactions, what content would you produce? Well, I got a lot of other content that I've been producing, so it'll be okay. But even on top of that, even like let me just say something about that. Like, I actually wish that YouTube was a little stricter on making videos in terms of like forcing people to edit more, because if that was the case, well, see, at this point, I don't even know if it's even at this point now, but if that were the case, I'd say hundreds upon hundreds of channels would stop existing. Like, we would slim things down, and you know, even now, I still wish that YouTube would drop a hammer. Like, I always thought they were going to. And because what happens is when you upload the videos, like the full videos, you get copyright claims through a lot. Like, at least with most of my, like for K-pop videos, that always happens. Guaranteed. It's in the system. And so then all I'm doing is making the Korean record company money for that K-pop Friday reaction. But for example, if you did the same thing with with a full episode of The Flash, but cutting it down, you're able to keep it as your own because it becomes sort of it becomes transformative. Thus, I always thought that if YouTube implemented a stricter point with that, that would force everybody to just edit everything. For me, it would be no problem because I'm already in that frame of mind of just cutting out like the slow points and only putting the highlights. I'd be fine with it, but I know a good amount of other channels would not, and they wouldn't do it because they wouldn't do it anymore because it's not easy to produce those type of shows. It takes me about 2-3 hours to do like The Flash or those TV shows, any TV show. That's why I don't do many TV show reactions, because it just takes so long to do them. But I enjoy them, and I feel like it's my own sort of video. The main point here I'm trying to say is that I really wish they would drop that sort of hammer there. So then at that point, people will just be like, okay, YouTube did something about it. Those that don't want to work for it won't be around anymore, and then people will stop jumping on reaction channels that actually try to put some stuff out or will take the extra time to edit their stuff. So it would basically the sense of being a lazy channel or a lazy content stiller would be gone at that point if there was some official sort of hammer that gets dropped and it's like boom. And then people would also wake up and be like, hey, why isn't this shit channel gone? Well, actually, it's not really a shit channel because the rules were given finally, and now edits have been made, so there's not much you can prove other than that you're a fucking hater at this point, right? So I hope, but whatever. It's so not my concern of nowadays, right now. All right, my favorite movie every once in a while usually is The Dark Knight. Usually. All right. Would you rather miss the last 15 minutes of every movie or adopt a baby every time you hear "Don't Stop Believing"? What the fuck? What? I'd say adopt a baby, probably. That's probably the last 15 minutes. Wow. Okay. All right. Anything? Have you ever thought about residing back in America? And can you also speak Japanese fluently? No, I cannot. That's one of the things. I'm really trying to take a break from the channel or something to try to get more free time so I can study. I have my right over there, Japanese for busy people, because it does get a kind of annoying when I go out sometimes, and I get in those situations where I don't have someone to translate for me or whatever, and I can get basic survival stuff on my own, but it'd be kind of interesting to it'd be nicer, like, you know, could you imagine if you're at one of those, if I'm at one of those celebrity events with Dante or something like that, and we get all the Cyber Japan girls show up and they're all like, oh my god, Akasan, and they start speaking to me and blah 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 blah. I'm just like, what did you say? Like that, man. Or if I finally met up with my Oshima Yuko. The Oshiman is Japanese for the person you follow. If I finally met up, and I was so depressed because she showed up to the Walking Dead signing thing. I finally meet up with her. I'm like, oh my god, and you want to say everything, all the right words, but she can't understand anything you're saying. So I want to study more about that. That's my goal. That's my focus here. What was the other question? Oh, about residing back in America. Yeah, I plan to. Have you ever considered making a talk show mixed with your reactions, like reacting to a certain video? Yeah, you can tell that some of these commentary afterwards, you can tell some of these are older because I've been doing that quite a lot now. When I actually put review or discussion in the title, I goddamn fucking mean it. You guys have seen that shit, right? It's like a 5-minute reaction, but that shit is like a 10-15 minute discussion, man. Like, when I put it in there, like, yeah, and I'm not trying to call out other channels, but when I put it in there, I literally mean it. It's a full blown discussion. All right. Let's see. Anything else? Hey Akasan, I know you mentioned this in a previous video discussing Batman, I believe, about your study of philosophy and the like. What schools of philosophy do you find most interesting, and are there any philosophers who have inspired you? So yeah, studying I've always found that nihilism is actually very interesting for me. Like, it's this weird, not like this idea of not caring, but movement still is a creation of care. Like, you're moving towards somewhere, you're doing something, so that means you have some sort of desire for it. And I always thought that there was the complexity of that was very weird with nihilistic behavior. And I always thought that was the interesting one. In terms of philosophers, I don't know if you would consider him a philosopher, but I've always liked the Dalai Lama. I've always enjoyed, when I used to study philosophy, we would watch a lot of videos on him and tapes, and like just watching him, just hearing this kind of stuff he would say, like, he really made you believe a lot. And here's the interesting thing. There's a lot of people out there in this world that you're going to meet that have a lot to say and a lot to do about many things, right? But they're always trying to sell you on themselves. You know, Donald Trump, Kanye, whatever. They're always trying to sell you on themselves. But what I've always felt was interesting about the Dalai Lama is he's just talking, and he sounds so inspirational, but he's never really selling himself. He's just selling an idea, and then the purest idea of love and acceptance and compassion. And I believe, I wish that more people would spend the time to be more compassionate about others, and more people would spend the time to listen to the other side of the world, or the opinions of what others think. So we spend so much, especially on YouTube and social media, especially YouTubers and social media-ish people, spend so much time trying to tear other people down, to look at other people, to roast them or critique them, or to talk shit like that. People spend so much time trying to bring other people down that, could you imagine what kind of world it would be if you would just spend more time promoting other people, I guess, or seeing the other side of things? But maybe that's not realistic. Maybe that's not the realistic expectation of humanity, I suppose. It's much easier to hate what you don't understand than to try to take the time to, because it takes a lot of time, believe me. It takes a lot of time to try to understand the other side of where people are coming from, because it's not easy. So it's much easier just to hate on them. Woof. Okay. Next one. Let's see, what's this one? This might be a harsh one, but how long do you plan to stay with this channel? Many YouTubers stop putting content after reaching their sub goal. Yeah, so we kind of crossed that one already. Not saying this is the case, but everything has an end. By the way, what's the next sub goal? I think my next sub goal is not that important, but I guess my next sub goal would be 250,000, like that. 250,000, because I hope I could be in another studio by then, and I really want to bring in more celebrities, more guests. Honestly, I kind of like what Phil DeFranco does sometimes. I don't think I could discuss social issues the same way, but I like what Phil DeFranco does, and sometimes the format and how he has guests on the show. I'd really like to do something like that. I don't think I can do it on 250, but I just really want to get more cameras in, more cuts like that. Just something like that. Even one of my friends, Philip Tan, is a very strong, fairly well-known DC artist. He's here right now, and so I'm telling him, like, come on in, dude. We got to get you into the show like that. Jessica Nigri, I talk with her, and she wants to come in as well next time she's in Japan. So things like that. I really want to get set up a little bit more like that. Yeah. So, Christopher, Akasan, do you think nowadays the critics for any type of entertainment are more judging of a movie, comic, anime, manga by the story, and sometimes we forget to just judge everything in it? Like, for example, a movie is story, visual, acting, pacing, music, and they give 90% of their judgment based on the story and pacing and barely mentioning the other parts of it. It's like judging something with only a portion of it and giving it a score with a portion of that alone. That's a good question, but like, let's take a look at Batman v Superman. Like, a lot of people praised Snyder's visual efforts, but I think story means everything. Some of the greatest stories were just told in black and white with pen and a paper. That's it. That, like, we left it to sometimes it's kind of an insult to our own human imagination when graphics are good and godlike and such, because we are dependent upon someone else to fill in those visual blanks or fill in some of those blanks with our minds, that our minds usually would help instead. The emotions and the feelings get invoked. You know, music helps push the feelings more, right? So, I think what happens is, because we have run into more of a franchise feel, more of a franchise type feeling, then because things are based more, stories are now based upon where franchises match up, like Rogue One is a good example. You're basing it upon the other 7, 5, whatever movies and franchises that tie-ins that have come out before it, and it's harder to actually just rate a movie based on standalone. Standalone. Transformers is another example. Is that this is going to be what, the 5th movie, I think, 5th or 6th movie, and where you unfortunately compare it to all the previous movies. But that's also the reason people go to see that movie in the beginning. So I don't know if critics have become harsher, but I do think it's just something. Avatar is a good example. It's like, you know, Avatar came out in a time when 3D wasn't being utilized that particular way, but even the story itself was still strong enough that you could get both one and the same. The Dark Knight's another good example. It's like there's minimal CG in there, but there's some stuff in there, but visually there's still the way Nolan's able to tell a story just with a camera and an IMAX. It's amazing. So I don't think it's, I just think it becomes more, I think it just becomes more challenging, and studios really don't care about critical reception so much. They just want to push something out to make money, where directors generally want to make art. So, alright, where are we at on that one? That's about 28 minutes. Yeah, we got a lot of other questions. Okay, let's break on this one, and we'll be back with part 3.